Today we will discuss about reporting in ABAP. So first, the basic question is we need to understand why the reports are being developed. So what is meant by a report? Till now also we are developing programs. We have done so many programs. We have written some select queries. We have seen loops. We have seen reads, syntaxes, and so many other statements we were writing inside the programs. But those programs are written without events. There is something called events. We are going to learn reports which are event based reports. We are going to see what are all the events which are available in the reports. Actually, our reports are classified into two types. Our reports in a BAP are classified into two types. So those are called classical reports, and there is something called ALV reports. Classical reports are very traditional reports or old kind of reports. Nowadays, most of the people are not using this classical reports. But anyway, we are going to see some example of even that. Then ALV reports. So ALV reports are having more advantages when compared to classical report. So in the classical report, we have two categories again. One is called basic list. Another one is called interactive list. In ALV also we have basic list and interactive list. So these are all the basic list in ALV is also there, and interactive ALV is also there. So these are the main categories. So when you take a classical reporting, you have basic and interactive list. When you take a ALV reporting, you also have basic and interactive. And apart from this, in ALV, we also have some other categories. Something like we have blocked ALV and hierarchical ALV. So we will see what are all these things one by one. Maybe next coming 1 week we are concentrating on this reports. So we'll see what is the basic list, and then what is the interactive list, and then we'll see ALV reporting. So now the first point in the basic list, what I told you is the reports are also programs, but they are event driven programs. Till now we are not following any event driven approach. That means as if we are required, we are writing, say for example, I want a selection screen, I'm writing a parameters or select option syntax. I need a select query, directly I'm writing a select query after the parameter declaration and so on. But for doing each and everything, there are some events are there. We must follow the events. In the basic list, we have some events. The first event is initialization. The purpose of this event is to initialize the variables in your program. Say for example, I have declared some variables in my program and I want to put some value into one variable before using that variable further in the program. For example, I have declared a date variable. Before using further in my program, I want to assign today's date to that. So that I can do it in an initialization. And the second thing is, we also have a selection screen with the parameter declaration, select option declaration, and so on. So if you want to provide some default values into that, you can do it in a initialization. And second important event is at selection screen. At selection screen has several sub events. So it has at selection screen on particular field, at selection screen on value request, at selection screen on help request, at selection screen output. So these are all the various sub events. Each and every event has its own purpose. At selection screen is generally used to validate user given input. For example, in the selection screen, user has given some input. He don't know what to give. So he is looking the program for the first time. He don't know what to provide the input. So he has given some input in the selection screen, whatever it may be, any report. So when he entered something wrong in the report, you should display some message, or you have to guide him properly by displaying a message or doing something else. So that sort of code will be written in at selection screen event, used mainly for validation purpose. What is meant by validation? Validation means checking the user given input is correct or not, and if not correct, give a message saying that this is not correct. You have to provide so and so value if possible. Guide him how to provide the input. Then next one is at selection screen on field. Here your selection screen may be having n number of fields. It may be having so many fields, but if you want to do validations only for a particular field, then make use of this on field. If you want to do validations for all the fields, make use of at selection screen. Anyway, maybe I'll give you the example when I'm doing the coding in AC38, you may be understanding this concept in a better way. Then value request is an event to provide your own search help. The button will come, a search help button, F4 button. So that kind of button, your own, with your own values, if you want to provide, give this event at selection screen on value request. The next event is at selection screen on help request, and then the output at selection screen output. Help request is for documentation help. In SAP, wherever you are, sometimes when you click on F1 button on any field, you will get some documentation. Assume that you got a requirement to provide your own documentation, then you will give this at selection screen on help request. Then there is something called at selection screen output. This is to modify your selection screen. Sometimes we will get a requirement. If I select one radio button, some group of fields should be displayed on the selection screen. If I select another radio button, another set of fields should be displayed on the selection screen. Such kind of requirements will get. So that can be handled in at selection screen output. So basically in one statement, if you want me to say, see, this at selection screen output event is used to dynamically modify the selection screen. Then the next event is start of selection. In this event, your actual programming will start. Actual programming, writing a select query based on the parameters or select options, all these things you will do generally in start of selection. This event is called a mandatory event. So in SAP, when you are doing a program without any events, there is no problem. But once you started doing program with events, you must provide start of selection event. So any one of the event you are writing, initialization at selection screen, any one of the event if you are using, then you must provide start of selection. Without start of selection, you will not get a proper output. So this is a mandatory event. There is one more event called end of selection. End of selection is not mandatory. If you want to write this event, you can write it. If you don't want, you can include the same logic what you want to write in end of selection in the start of selection also. It's not mandatory event. But the purpose of this event is generally when you are displaying the output, whatever the output code you have written. So for example, sometimes I will write some code to display the output. So that part of code generally we will write in end of selection. Then there is one more event called top of page. Top of page event is used for putting heading. Your report has to provided with some heading on the top. So this top of page event is used. Then the next one is end of page. So top of page is for heading, then end of page is obviously for the footer. If you want to put some footer, then you will make use of this. So these are all the events in your basic list. Any basic list, if you take a classical report basic list, you can make use of this. Okay. So what I say is the purpose of the event is important rather than remembering whether we are using this event in a basic list or interactive list. So what I meant to say, whenever you want to validate the user given input, you can use that event in any report. Say for example, for validating, I want this event. This event I can use in a basic list also. This event I can use in interactive list also. Tomorrow I can use the same event in the ALV report also to validate the user given input. So remember the purpose of the event rather than where we are using, whether you are using this in a basic list or whether you are using this in interactive list. Instead of paying attention on that, remember the purpose of each and every event so that automatically you can think and use wherever that requirement comes. Then the next one is, let us come to the interactive list events. So we have completed the events in the basic list, and then we are coming to the interactive list related events. In addition to all these 6 events, we have some more events here. So those are, I will say at selection screen, I will say at line selection, sorry, it's not at selection screen, at line selection, or at user command, and there is one more event called at PF, but this is obsolete. Like this event nowadays we are not using. So these are all these 3 events. Generally what these events will do is, this will handle user interaction. For example, I have given some input to my program. Any program till now we have developed. In that program I have given some input. I double clicked on the particular program. Then what will happen? I will get an output. On the output, I have a material number, I have a plant number, so on. So I have some details in the output. So now in the output I have a material number, right? So when I double click on any one of the material, I want to see the details of, further details of the particular material. Further details means maybe storage location details of the material, maybe some accounting view related details of the particular material, any further details of the particular material. So in that case, we will go for an interactive report, and you can handle those things with this at line selection, at user command, at pf status. So whatever the line you select in the output, so based on the line, if you want to do the code, you make use of at line selection. Similarly, at user command, sometimes in our program what we will do is, we will select a particular line, click on some button on the menu. So in this at user command, we will see how to create our own button in the report, how to handle that button. This at pf event is linked with the function keys which is in your computer keyboard. In your computer keyboard, you have F1, F2, F3 keys, right, in the keyboard. So with the help of that, if you want to do something, like when I click F10, for example, some screen should appear, some interactive list should appear. So such kind of requirements are there, then you can handle it with at pf. Then in addition to that, we have something like top of page during line selection. So if you want to provide a heading for the interactive report means when you double click on your output, one more screen comes. So in that screen, if you want to put a heading, make use of this event, top of page during here during line selection. So there is no end of page during line selection. We will discuss why end of page during line selection is not there, because in the pop-up or in the another screen which comes when you double click on your output, in that if you want to put a footer, how to put that, discuss while we are doing the coding. So these are all the important events which you need to remember. So when we are doing the coding, could be sometimes basic list means generally we will use only up to this. Interactive list means we will go for these events. So based on the purpose, some of the events we can also make use in ALV reporting also. So once we complete the reporting, you will get a better understanding of all these events and all the types of reports. So today what we will do is, we will try to create a classical report basic list. Okay. So in the basic list, we are going to learn the purpose of different events practically. Let us take one example. When I am developing a report, generally I could have given with some what are all the inputs of my particular program, what are all the outputs screen should contain. So all these things should be given to you in the real time. Also you will get some specifications, some documents where that will be mentioned what is the program input, what is the program output, and so on. I'll go to AC38 to create a report. This is a classical report. This is basic list. So I want to create some small report to display sales details. So I will say report to display sales data. So some of you already aware of sales data is stored in VBAK and VBAP tables. In SAP, there are two tables, standard SAP tables, where your sales document relateds will be stored. So let us go to VBAK table. This is called sales header, VBAK. So now, for example, now I want to see whether it has some company code or plant. So that I can use that field as my program input for your better understanding. Otherwise, I will take sales organization. Okay, so this is a sales organization. This is a distribution channel and division. Actually, whenever some sales scenarios are coming up, there is something called sales area. Sales area means, see, there is something called organizational structure. Mostly functional consultants will be concentrating on that. So organizational structure means client is a top. Like for example, if you want to implement a business, under the client there will be some companies. That means if you are a client, then for you there are three companies, company 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each company has some plants, and each plant has further differentiation and so on. So like that, there are some, if you see here, there are some sales organization, distribution channel, division. These three fields together functionally called as the sales area. So in each sales area, there will be some sales happening, sales documents could be generating. So we will take these fields as our input fields for the time being. So I will go to my program. Here what I will do is, I want to declare a sales organization parameters P underscore VKORG type. What is the data element of this? VKORG. So I'll put it, comma, P underscore VTWEG. What is this? Distribution channel. Type this, and then P underscore SPART. This is a division. So there are three parameters I have taken. Type this, SPART. And one more option also I want to give to the user, like in a given period, say for example from January 1st to end of the January, how many sales documents are generated, that kind of option. So what I will do is, if you come here, there is something called date on which the record was created. So this is the date on which the particular record, the sales record, is created. So this field stores the details. So we will take this also as the input, but I want to provide the range of the dates from January 1st to end of the January. So some range of dates I want to give. So not a single value. So in this case we need to use select options. So what is the syntax for select options? You need to say select options, some name, s underscore ERDIT or whatever. Instead of type, see in the parameters we are putting a type here, but for the select options you need to provide for, and then you have to give the work area hyphen field name. So here what you are giving, here you are giving the data element. For the parameters you are giving the data element. Okay, otherwise you can also give here. So if you don't want to give a data element, you can also provide the table hyphen field name. What is our table name? VBAK. So you can also say VBAK hyphen VKORG. But for select options, you need to provide work area hyphen field name or a global variable name, like what we discussed yesterday. So first I need to declare a work area. So what I will do is I'll go into the top, I will declare a work area. So data work area for VBAK table, type VBAK. So this is my work area now. In this work area I have a field called ERDAT. Provide that. Save, check, activate. Now let us see how the selection screen appears. So you have some fields on your selection screen. Good. So now what I want is, I want 2 radio buttons. So I want user to provide either these 3 or this. That means when I am giving the input to this program, I am expecting the user to provide either these 3 or he has to provide this. So to bifurcate these 2 in the selection screen, what I will do is I will put 2 radio buttons. Okay, so 2 radio buttons, one is for this, another one is for this. So how to put a radio button? There is a syntax to put the radio button. The syntax is parameters, declare any name, maybe ABC, XYZ. Similarly, I am giving here R1, radio button group. Again, group have a name. You can give any group name. Here I will say group name is G1. Instead of G1, you put any name, XYZ, ABC, whatever. So this is group name, this is radio button name. So what I am saying, this radio button is available in this group. Generally, radio buttons will be available inside the group. If you want to see a radio button, I will show one best example. When we go to SE38 screen, there are some radio buttons here. See, these things are called radio buttons. And all these radio buttons are in one group. So what is the group concept? Whenever some radio buttons are in a group, you can select any one of the radio button among the group. So you have all these radio buttons in a group. So I cannot select all the radio buttons at a time. I can select any one of the radio button among the group. For example, now assume these 3 radio buttons are in one group, these 2 are in a different group. Then I can select one from this group, I can select one from this group. So the group plays a role like that. So when you are putting a radio button inside the group, so among the group at a time you can select only one radio button. So what I am doing is I am declaring another radio button. Radio button name is R2. Radio button group, same group I am putting here. So among the group G1, now I have 2 radio buttons. So among these 2 radio buttons, I can select only one radio button at a time. So now let me save it, check it, activate. And execute. So now I can select either this radio button or this. Okay. Fine. Now one more important point. The end user, he don't know what is this VKORG. VKORG means a sales organization. We know that because we went to this table and we saw here what is a VKORG. The functional consultants, they know that because they are working from so many years, or they know the process, they know that. But assume a layman, a chairman of the company, or a layman who doesn't know about anything, he are coming and looking into this screen. Then P_VKORG means he don't know what it is. We need to provide a suitable description for each and every selection screen field. So how to put the description? Here there is an option, go to text elements, selection text. So here if you can see, there are some check boxes are coming up here. So these are all the elements which we placed on the selection screen. If you see this P underscore SPREAT, VKORG, R1, R2, ERDAT, all these things are the screen elements. On the selection screen, all these things are there. But for some of them, here the checkbox is coming up. For some of them, checkbox is not coming. So in which case the checkbox is coming? Whenever you give a data element reference or work area hyphen field name reference, in that case the checkbox is coming. If you select the particular checkbox and press enter, the description is automatically coming from the data element, because the data element has a field label, right? So from the field label the description is coming. Similarly, when I select this, press enter, description is coming automatically. But I don't want the description, then I can provide my own description. Say for example, I don't want to select this, I don't want that, so I want to provide my own thing, then I will say I can provide like this: sales organization. What is this? VETWEG means distribution channel. So when you want the description should come from a data dictionary level, select this checkbox and press enter. Here R1 means I will say selection based on sales area. Sales area is a combination of sales organization, distribution channel and division. So here I will say R2 means selection based on here something wrong. Okay, selection based on date. I will say date of creation. Okay, otherwise I will say selection based on date. Now I will save it, activate this, come back to the report. So come back to your coding. Now execute this. See how your report appears. So first one is selection based on sales area. You have 3 fields below that. This is selection based on a date. You have some field behind this. Okay, so this is how you can provide a description for your selection screen elements. Now the next one is, I want to provide all these fields in a block. So the syntax for providing all these things in a block is selection screen begin of block, some name, block name it is, you can give B1, C1 or whatever you like. I will say B1 with frame, and selection screen begin of block is there, so I should have selection screen end of block B1. So begin of block is there, end of block is there. See how it looks like now. So a frame will appear on the selection screen. A frame, you can see this is the frame. So this is not there previously. Now this kind of frame is coming up. Okay, if you want to provide this kind of frame, then what could be the syntax? The syntax is selection screen begin of block B1 with frame, selection screen end of block B1. If you want to provide some title to this frame, you can say title some text hyphen 01. This is the text element. This is called a text element. Generally these text elements we will maintain in go to text elements text symbols. So previously we maintained a selection text, right? So if you remember, we maintained selection text here, right? So this is the next tab. There is something here called text symbols. In this text symbol, maintain any text. For example, 001. 001 means I will say selection criteria. So selection criteria means, so this is the text which I have maintained here. Save it, check it, activate it. So now text symbol number is 001. If I want to make use of this, then how can I make use of this? So I should say text hyphen 001, the number what I have provided there, text hyphen 001. So for this frame I am giving a title. What is the title? The title is text hyphen 001, which is nothing but selection criteria. So let us see how it appears. So you can see on the top selection criteria. So this is how it appears. So this could be how your basic design of selection screen, and then the next one is we are going to discuss about initialization event. In the initialization event, generally what we discussed, the initialization event is used to perform some default values. If you want to put some default values into the selection screen elements, or if you want to any variable, if you want to initialize, if you want to provide with some values, you can do that with event initialization. So in this initialization I will write some subroutine. I will say perform provide default values. Double click on this. Now I have a subroutine in which I can write my code. For example, as of now, what happening when I see my selection screen, there is no value in the sales organization, distribution channel and division, but I want to give a default value. By the time when I execute, I want to see some default value here. So to do that, what I will do is I can say here my p_vkorg equal to 1000. So I am putting 1000 in p_vkorg. Let us see how it looks now. So now see the default value is coming up. So this is coming by default. So what is the understanding? Before the selection screen appears, whatever the code you write here, so that code is getting executed. Similarly, if I want to provide a value in the select options, in the select option I want to provide some default value. How can I provide some default value in the select option? If it is a parameter, it's easy for me. I will directly say p_vkorg equal to 1000, but here there is something called s_erdat. In this I want to provide some range of values. So I want to make date as a default. How can I do that? So something like this. Yesterday we discussed that parameters are variables, but select options are internal tables with header lines, correct? So it has a cap symbol. If you remember, cap means with header line. So when an internal table is with header line internal table, its body name and work area name both are same. That means internal table name is also s_erdat, work area name is also s_erdat. So every select option has 4 fields: sign, option, low, high. Why I am repeating all this story? Because I want to put some value inside this table so that it should appear by default. So for example, in s_erdat, sign in the work area s underscore erdat means work area hyphen some field name sign equal to, I'll put I means inclusive, option I will put BT means between, low value I will provide some date, maybe 2014 0601. So whenever you are providing a date, always your internal format of the date will be YYYY, then MM, then DD format. We will see this few formats later. What is the date, internal format, external format, and so on. So here I will say ERDAT hyphen high equal to 2014 1231. So I have filled my work area with all these 4 fields, sign, option, low, high. Then I will say append my work area to my internal table. That internal table name is also ERDAT. So actually your syntax should go like this: append your work area to your internal table. But whenever your work area name and internal table name both are same, no need to say to. So system is smart enough. It understands that okay, you are trying to append work area to the internal table, but work area name and internal table name both are same. So system can understand that. So now we will save it, check it, activate, and let us see how it appears in the selection screen. Now you can see 1/6/2014 to 31/12/2014. It appears like this. So when you want to put a default value in the parameters, it is simple, but when you want to put some default value in the select options, you need to perform this step. So you need to full sign, option, low, high fields, and then you should append it. So all these defaulting the things can be done in the initialization event. So hope now you got a better understanding why we will use a initialization event. So remember, the initialization event is used to provide some default values into the selection screen variables or into your program variables. Variables sometimes will appear on the selection screen. Sometimes you may create some variables which are not appearing on the selection screen. Something like a work area here we declared. If you want to put some default value before going further into this particular work area, you can put it in the event of initialization. Initialization means in the beginning, right? So now this is the purpose of the event initialization. Next we are going to discuss about add selection screen. In the add selection screen, we will generally validate user given input. I will say here perform validate all fields. So what are all the fields which are available on the selection screen? All the fields I can validate in the event at selection screen. Double click on the subroutine, create a subroutine here. In this I can write a code to validate the selection screen field. So assume somebody is giving here some wrong sales organization. So when I press enter, as of now there is no message. User doesn't know whether what he entered is correct or not. But you know that this is some wrong sales organization. How you know this is a wrong sales organization? Because this is not there in the table. So which table it is not there? We have to go and see in VBAK, because the requirement is we want a sales organization field in the input, which is there in this VBAK. So in this table, we have to check whether the sales organization is there or not. But one more small point I want to add. In the beginning, we have created two tables. One is a student table, one is employee table, right? You remember those tables, student table and employee table. And we have made a foreign key relationship between these two. Whenever you are joining an whenever you are joining a student, you will check his father's employee ID is available in employee table or not. Correct? So I will take you to that table once. So here student table is there. In the student table, you have a field called employee ID. Correct? So now my question is, assume tomorrow you are writing a program and you want to validate employee ID. So you want to validate employee ID means you want to check whether employee ID is existing or not. Will you check in student table or will you check in employee table? Your report is making use of this student table only. Something like our report now making use of, our report is making use of VBAK. As of now, all the fields what we have taken from VBAK table. Similarly, assume tomorrow you are writing a report. All the fields are taken from the student table. Employee ID is also taken from the student table. But if an employee is existing or not, if you want to see, you should look into the employee table, not in the student table, because tomorrow one more student may join with whose employee ID is maintained already in employee table. So if employee is available or not, you have to check in the check table. So where can I find the check table? Go to this tab here, entry help check. So here see this field, that means in the student table the employee ID is related with ZNRN employee table. In the same way, now if I open VBAK table, so now I'll go back. So now I will open VBAK. In this we have a sales organization, right? Sales organization, what is the field name? VKORG. This is the sales organization. And if you go to this entry help check, the sales organization is maintained in TVKO. So this is the check table. So this VBAK and TVKO tables are related via foreign key for this VKORG field. So now if the sales organization is available or not, I should check in TVKO, not in VBAK. So how to check? I will write a select query here. So I will write select single VKORG, that is a sales organization, from which table? TVKO, and put it into some variable. Maybe I'll declare a variable here, data, some local variable VKORG, type VKORG, sales organization, VKORG means, into this LV underscore VKORG, where VKORG, that is VKORG means a field name, equal to whatever is given in P underscore VKORG. So I have written a select query. So whenever user provides some input, I want to check whether the particular sales organization is available in TVKO or not, TVKO table or not. If it is available, I will not say any error. If it is not available, that means if psi sub RC not equal to 0, that means if the data not found, I want to throw a message I want to give a message. So what message I can give? Message, I'll say sales org not found. Sales org not found or something, which is of type error message, because I want user to clear this error first, and then he should go like entering other values. So I will make it as a error message. We have seen there are a couple of other types, right? Warning message, about message, success, status message, information message. But here I am putting an error message. Say for example, if the sales organization 1000 is valid, when I press enter, there is no message. But if I provide some wrong value, press enter, in the bottom you can see the message, sales org not found. When I press enter, the code is getting executed. Or when I click on this execute button, the code is getting executed. So that means when the event is triggering, what is the event? The event name is at selection screen. When this event is getting triggered, this event is getting triggered when you press enter after giving some input in the selection screen. Otherwise, when you click on execute button after providing some input in the selection screen, the code which you have written under this event at selection screen will trigger. So the main purpose of at selection screen is to validate the fields. So I have written only one select query here for this sales organization. You can also continue. You may add another select query for distribution channel. You may add another select query for a division. That means for all these fields, whatever you want to validate, you write select queries and you throw some suitable error messages for them. So all these things can be performed in the at selection screen event. I also told you that there are some sub events like at selection screen on field. If you want to do validation only for sales organization, then better you specify at selection screen on say p_vkorg. So for this particular field only, the code which you have written is applicable. So if you don't want only for this something should be done, you want something like some code should be applicable for all the fields, make use of at selection screen. So that is the only difference between at selection screen and at selection screen on field. On field is only particular field. If you want to do some validation, make use of that. The next event is at selection screen on value request. So at selection screen on value request, what it is? Generally, SAP gives a search help for all the fields. When I execute this, when I click, see the sales organization has a F4 button here. You are getting the list of sales organization and its name. Okay, but the thing is, I don't know, for this sales organization or for this distribution channel. Let us see what help SAP has given. Okay, distribution channel and its name it has been given, and division. So now what I want is, I want to give some other F4. Like when I click on this F4 button, sales, or instead of sales organization and name, I want some more details. What details I want means, when I click on this F4 button, I want to display some other details from TVKO. This is the table, check table for sales organization. From this table, I want to display the sales organization number, maybe company code or account numbers in that particular sales organization. Some details I want to display. Let us see what are all the contents available in this table before going further, because if you want to see those contents, the data should be available in this table. Let us see what data they have already maintained. It's taking some time. Meanwhile, if you have some questions till now, you can ask me. Otherwise, so what we are doing, are you able to follow, right? Yeah. Okay. Say for example, for each sales organization, what is the currency, what is the company code, all these details they are maintained. Okay. So what I want is, I want these first three fields itself I want to display. When I click on F4 button, instead of sales organization and name, I want to display the sales organization and the currency for that sales organization and BU KRS, that means the company code for this sales organization. So these three fields I want to show. When I want to show that, when somebody clicks on F4 button here, as of now what is coming up? Sales organization and the name of the sales organization. So now to display your own pop-up like this, what you have to do is you write the event. Now the event name is @selection screen on value request for P_VKORG. So we are providing our own search help for this particular field. So now I'll say here, perform provide F4 help. This is a subroutine. You can give any name. So I'm giving this name, perform provide F4 help or something. So how to provide a F4 help? Let us see. So first I will declare one structure, because I want three fields, right? What are all the three fields I want? I want VKORG, I want VS, I want BUKRS. All these three fields I want from this TVKO table. So to store these three fields, I will declare one structure, one internal table. So I will say here types begin of ty_f4. This is the name of the structure which has VKORG, type VKORG. What is the next field I want to display? VS, type VS_V, BUKRS, type VKBUK or whatever. Then end of ty_f4. Here I will say data, some LT_f4. This is some name, something like ABCXYZ. This is the name of the internal table. Type table of my structure, that is ty underscore f4. Now I will say select all the fields, not all the fields, sorry, I have to select only 3 fields, that is VKORG, WAERS, BUKRS. From which table? I want to select this from TVKO table, and after selecting, put it into table whose name is LT underscore F4. So I don't have any where condition for this. I want to select all the data which is available in this TVKO table. How many entries are there in this TVKO table? We saw around 74 or 75 entries are there. See, 75 entries. That means 75 sales organizations they have defined in the customization. So all the 75 entries I wanted in this internal table. So once I get the internal table, I want to show it in the pop-up. Okay, so now what I want, so the next step is to display a pop-up. So to display the pop-up, we have a function module, SAP standard function. SAP has given us a function module already to display a pop-up kind of thing for your F4 help. The function module name is F4 if internal table value request. I didn't remember the exact spelling, so what I'm doing is whatever I remember I'm giving, and then I'm putting stars in between. So SAP will search it for me. This is the function module F4 if internal table value request. You need to remember this function module name. So this function module, what it will do, whatever the data is available in this internal table, that will be shown in the pop-up by using this function module. So pass this internal table to this function module. Here there is something called value tab for this. Provide it over here. There is something called return field. Return field means when you double click on particular search help, to which field it should return the value. It should return the value to P underscore VKORG. Dynprog, there is something called current program. We have discussed several system variables, if you remember, SciC, PROG. This is a current program. Screen number, SciDyNNR, current screen number. Dynpro field, to which field you are doing this? Dynpro field is nothing but P underscore VKORG. There is something here called value arg. Value arg is something like, as now it is in a character format. Now I want to convert this value arg into string format. So make it yes. So you also need to remember what are all the things we need to provide to this function module. If you want to make use of the particular function module, you should be aware of like what are all the things you should pass it on to. So this will come only by practice. Now I will save it, check it, activate it. And one more important point is, whenever a function module has any exception, always uncomment the exception. Say for example here, see, this function module has exceptions. Always uncomment. It's a good habit to uncomment the exception. Save, check, activate, execute. Now I'll click on this button. So now see what is coming up. Previously sales organization and name were coming up. Now these three. Now select any one of the fields from this, and that particular value will go and sit in your sales organization. So this is how you can provide your own search help to any of the fields. So if you want to provide your own search help, which event is suitable for you, you have to make use of at selection screen on value request event. So what is the event? Let us go on to the top, at selection screen on value request. So there is one more event, that is at selection screen on help request for something p_vk_org only. I will do. What is the help request? Help request means this event is used for documentation help. Documentation help means what? When I click on any one of these fields, for example, I will put my cursor on this distribution channel, click on F1 on my keyboard, then you can see I will get a pop-up. So in this, they are giving some documentation. What is meant by distribution channel? What is the use of this? Some notes. So all these things SAP is giving. This is coming by default. But I want to give my own pop-up when somebody clicks on F1 button. How to give? So for that you have to make use of at selection screen on help request. Perform provide F1 help. Double click on this. So now what I will do is I will declare one more structure here. Types begin of ty_f1, any name. In this structure I will declare only one field. The field name is line. This line can be having a length of around 70 or something. Type character. End of ty_f1. I will declare an internal table for this, lt_f1 type table of ty_f1. Declare one work area for this, that is ls_f1 type ty_f1. So now I have a internal table, I have a work area. Then I will say ls_f1 hyphen line, that means my work area hyphen field name. I will put some content in this. So I will say this is the documentation provided. So then I will say append my work area to my internal table. So the first line, whatever is there in the work area, that is appended to my internal table. Then I will repeat the same step once again. So I will say here documentation help provided. I'll continue on this line for sales organization in program. So I have given some 2 lines. So these 2 lines I have appended to my internal table. My internal table name is LTF1. Now what I want a pop-up. So there is a function module to display pop-up. What about this? On the previously we have also done, this is a displaying pop-up, but this is for F4 help. Okay, so this particular function module is used only for F4 help. Okay. So this, whatever the pop-up right now I am saying, whenever you want a pop-up, say assume you have a internal table, that internal table you want to display in a pop-up. So whenever you get this kind of scenario, so make use of the function module which I am going to tell you now. The function module name is pop-up with table, pop-up with table display underscore okay. Pop-up with the table display. What this function module will do? This is a SAP standard function module. Inside the code, SAP has written already inside this function module. You just need to make use of this to display a pop-up, so that on the pop-up you will get whatever the content is available in your internal table. So our internal table has already filled with the 2 lines. So those 2 lines I will give. That means what I am doing, I am giving my internal table to the value tab of this function module. So for the pop-up should begin at column number 5, row number 5, and pop-up should end at column number 50, row number 25. Some numbers I am giving. I will explain more about this when pop-up comes. So here some text, any title for the particular pop-up is, I'm saying F1 help or something. So these are the things you should provide to this function module. Always uncomment exceptions. So now the coding is done. Let us save check activate this. Execute. So when I click F1 on this sales organization, you can see a pop-up is coming up. This is my own pop-up, unlike the previous pop-up which was coming. So in this, whatever I have written, that means whatever my internal table has, that content is getting displayed. Okay. So in this way you can you can put many lines in you can fill your internal table in whatever the way you like, and you can display it. So this will appear when you click on F1 on a particular field, F1 button on a particular field. So this is what about your event. The event name is add selection screen on help request. So today we will stop here. There is one more important event or interesting event is there, that is called add selection screen output. So add selection screen output is something like, as of now what happening, when I select this particular radio button, this field is also appearing. So I dynamically want to change based on this. When I select this radio button, I don't want these fields should appear here. Similarly, when I select this radio button, I don't want this field should be appearing here. I want to change my selection screen dynamically. So how to do this, we will see in the next session.